Putin is just getting more and more deranged as the days go on, and my visceral hatred and opposition to him has only obviously been enhanced since I returned from Ukraine and witnessed firsthand what it is that this man is responsible for, all for his attempt at expanding his own power and pursuing an ideological delusion of his. And so, Zelenskyy recently, in an interview, responded to Trump's meeting with Putin and had more stark language than I'm used to with Zelenskyy towards Trump, because Zelenskyy tries to keep Trump in his good graces. So I'll show that to you. But first, I think there's some important context this is happening within, starting with this clip of Putin.
He was here to talk about the economy in Russia's Far East. But Vladimir Putin had a message for the West. Don't send your soldiers to Ukraine.
If some troops appear there, especially now while the fighting's continuing, we proceed from the premise that these will be legitimate targets for destruction.
Only yesterday, European leaders pledged post-war security guarantees for Ukraine, including an international reassurance force on land, sea and in the air. The Kremlin is fiercely opposed.
We consider it a danger for us, presence of international forces or any foreign forces or NATO country forces on the soil of Ukraine next to our borders. So in our understanding, it will not help us get closer to the solution of the Ukrainian conflict.
But why doesn't Ukraine have the right, as far as Russia is concerned, to invite whoever it wants, whichever soldiers it wants onto its territory? I mean, Russia is inviting North Korean troops.
Then it's a danger for us. It's a real danger for us because we are an enemy of NATO.
North Korean troops are a danger to Ukraine.
Written in NATO's documents. So we cannot afford that. And we'll do whatever.
So that tells you so much. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but there's this, again, I said ideological delusion, this disgusting framework that the Russian government operates on, which justifies through, it's not just fallacy, like I said, through an utter dishonest, delusional distortion, which says we get to dictate what happens in Ukraine. We get to dictate if troops from other countries, to be clear, were stationed there after the war's over. That meeting they're talking about is them trying to prepare for, if we were able to get a peace agreement, we know because Putin has violated like 78 bazillion ceasefires and peace agreements. That's all he's done over and over again. So they go, I'll play a little bit more where this comes up, but just trust Putin. He's going to agree and then it'll be fine. And if you just give him everything once, it'll be fine. But European leaders are saying, all right, if we were to agree to something, we would need to station peacekeeping forces or our forces so that essentially, without it being formalized, an attack on Ukraine would be an attack on NATO because there would be NATO countries and their troops there. After the war is over, to ensure whatever's agreed to is actually the end of this and not just rejuvenate and continue for Russia's military. And what does Peskov say? No, because that would be a threat to us. How? Because they would be stationed on our border. There's already NATO countries on your border. Look at a map, moron. So there is no right Russia has to Ukraine's military defensive posture. And there's no world in which even any of these Kremlin officials believe that NATO's going to invade Russia. We can't have them on our border, even though we already do, because we wouldn't want them invading us from Ukraine. And as you like to remind us, you have nukes. Show me the NATO aggression. It's the reason you're a sworn enemy of NATO is because you keep invading your neighbors. And just the smug, as people are dying and dying and dying because of lies like what that guy just said.
It is necessary to ensure our security.
And anyway, who needs peacekeepers if there's no war, says the Kremlin. Vladimir Putin made this argument. If there's a peace deal on Ukraine, then there'll be no need for foreign peacekeepers in Ukraine because Russia will stick to the agreement.
Yeah, unlike the dozens of other ones that they violated. And then Putin's playing this sick game where he's like, I am ready to meet with Vladimir in Moscow. You think Zelensky's going to meet you in Moscow? It's just such an unserious suggestion.
If we meet with the current head of administration, let's put it this way, it is possible. I never rule this out. If the meeting is well prepared and if it leads to a positive potential outcome, it is possible. And by the way, Donald asked me if it's possible to have such a meeting, and I said that it is. After all, if Zelensky is ready, he can come to Moscow. This is quite possible.
Yeah. And I'm going to go tie myself to a train track and see what happens. Insane. Okay, then this is the Zelensky piece, which, again, all of this is happening. I don't want to get into the whole thing, but just it's so tough now going on social media and seeing people lie about this and knowing what those lies mean. But the leader you're about to see keeps agreeing to peace. The leader you just saw keeps refusing peace. And then the spokesperson from Peskov and a lot of his mouthpieces are like, come on, just let's sort this out. It's fine. We could sort it out. That's all that's standing in the way. And then every time they're given any option, they don't want it. But then Zelensky responded to that Putin-Trump summit that was so shameful, and talking to people just horrified by it in Ukraine made me just want to bawl my eyes out as an American.
The summit in Alaska. What was that like?
I was not there.
You were not there.
I was not there. What can I say?
You were here and you were watching that summit. What did you think when you saw that and you saw the red carpet and you saw Putin arrive to talk about your country?
I don't know. I think that it was bilateral summit, and it's a pity that Ukraine was not there because I think that President Trump gave Putin what he wanted. He wanted very much to meet with President Trump, with the President of the United States, and I think that Putin got it, and it's a pity. Putin doesn't want to meet with me, but he wants very much to meet with the President of the United States to show everybody video and images that he is there.
Yeah, so he's saying, number one, it's a pity that Ukraine wasn't a part of a summit about Ukraine. Weird. And then that Trump gave Putin, it's interesting he was willing to say that given how sensitive Trump is, that Trump gave Putin exactly what Putin wanted. And then we saw what that got us. So, by the way, to the Trump supporters who were like, no, it's fine to roll out the red carpet. It's fine to normalize in that way through a summit where you're standing up on the same platform and you're shaking and you're riding the same car and you're smiling and you're chatting. And that powerful imagery on the world stage, you said it's all necessary because it's going to lead to some progress. Will you acknowledge now it didn't? It did embolden Putin, and it did give him, again, in geopolitics, images can be very powerful. And the way the US president treats different leaders is very influential. And Putin got wins out of that and gave nothing. You've heard nothing from Trump about an achievement that they got. Not even, it's clear Putin's more serious than before about peace. Nothing. Can you at least acknowledge that? We live in this crazy world where we're like, hey, I don't think that's a good idea. And then it goes badly and you go, and you just go silent. And to see in the faces of so many Ukrainians just horror that the US president did that was heartbreaking, and it turned out to be for nothing, but it did something for Putin. And so Zelensky's saying you gave Putin what he wanted, but you didn't get anything that we or that nominally the United States is supposed to be advocating for. Than this.
Are you confident, 100% confident, that the Trump administration will see you through to a realistic peace?
No, I think that President wants to finish this war, and I think he has all the issues to do it. It's not simple, but if we speak about just and lasting peace, it's important to finish and not to have possibility that to have aggression again in 6 months, in 1 year, in 2 years. It's not only important to stop the war. Yes, it's very important, but to have a lasting peace, to have a security.
Exactly. And when I was talking to soldiers, a lot of MAGAs, and while we continue to do this, please do, if you appreciate this show, click the subscribe button. It's free. And then if you want to become a member, you can go a step further and click the join button, which is next to the subscribe button, and get yourself a membership, which is very special. But a lot of MAGAs will perpetuate this very harmful idea that Ukrainians don't know what they're fighting for. I got asked when I went on Ukrainian TV that question. Hey, I hear a lot of your counterparts on the right saying Ukrainians don't know what they're fighting for. Like, what's your takeaway after being here? And yeah, you can see on screen there, oh damn, they know what they're fighting for, clearly. And they would bring up when I would say, hey, people will, I feel icky asking this because I know the answer, but I'm here to ask you questions. What is your response when someone says, just give up the Donbass to Putin and then draw the line there and call it a day, or give up the currently occupied territories within that and call it a day? And all of them say, what's to stop future aggression? If we don't either stop them here through a complete and total military or economic collapse or failure, or through a strong defense, leverage our way to an actual lasting peace with the type of security guarantees where Russia doesn't say we won't allow European troops in Ukraine, then if we don't get one of those two things, what's to stop this in the future? And that's why we're going to keep fighting until one of those two options happens. Risking our lives because our families' lives depend on it. The future of our country depends on it. And so it's not that Zelenskyy, as a lot of these right-wingers will try to perpetuate, is out there totally out of step with the people who are actually on the ground risking their life. It is what he just articulated there. I'm sure they have criticisms of him as a leader, as anyone would of their leader, but on the big picture, what he's articulating is exactly aligned with the people actually putting their bodies at risk and their life at risk for this cause. And they know we need those lasting peace security guarantees. Otherwise, what was this all for? And then I'll end with Zelenskyy getting asked, what does victory look like?
What does victory look like in Ukraine?
Victory, to my mind, Putin's goal is to occupy Ukraine. This is to destroy us, occupy. And did he occupy it?
No.
It's mean that he didn't win. It's mean that we have Ukraine.
But he still wants to win.
Yes, but till he didn't occupy us, we win. And I think so, because we have our...
And I think the reason he's saying it that way is because another big Russian propaganda effort is to convince Ukrainians and the world, so that they'll stop seeing this as a worthy cause, that Ukraine already lost. They already lost. Russia's already victorious, despite the constant Russian failures. Yes, they've taken over territory, and I just witnessed what that means and what they do to people when they do. And so you could cite certain military victories, as gross as that sounds to say, in this invasion. But it is a victory of some sort every single time they stop Russia from taking over all of Ukraine. And Russia has been moving at a snail's pace because of the strong defense of Ukraine. Now, what does victory in its totality look like? A lasting peace, obviously. And he knows that. But I think that's why he's wording it that way, is to try to break that Russian narrative that Ukraine's losing, which they've been saying since the beginning, despite all of their failures.